The coffee maker gurgled like it was mocking me. I poured the dark roast into Tori's favorite mug, black. No sugar, just the way she liked it now. 3 years ago, she took it with cream and a smile. Now, nothing sweet survived in her world. Liam, where the hell is my blue tie? Her voice sliced through the penthouse from the walk-in closet. I grabbed the tie from the dresser, the one I'd ironed last night, and carried it in. She was standing there in her silk robe, staring at her reflection like it owed her money. Here, I said, holding it out. She didn't take it, just glanced at me through the mirror. Lips curled. You wrinkled it. I didn't. I literally just... Don't argue with me this morning. I've got a board meeting in 40 minutes. She snatched it from my hand and started nodding at herself and lose the sweatpants. You look like a homeless guy I felt sorry for. I looked down at the gray sweats. They were hers. Actually, she bought them for me last Christmas before she stopped coming home before midnight. Tori, maybe we should talk later. About us. She laughed. Actually laughed. There is no us to talk about. Liam, there's me, and there's the dead weight I haven't cut loose yet. My jaw tightened, but I kept my mouth shut. I'd learned that lesson the hard way 3 months ago, when I suggested she slow down on the 18-hour days. She'd thrown a crystal decanter at my head. Missed. Barely. Her phone buzzed on the vanity. She checked it, and her whole face changed. The ice melted for half a second, just long enough for me to see the woman I married 3 years ago in that dive bar in Brooklyn. Then it was gone. Chase is back. She whispered. My stomach dropped. Chase Montgomery. The ex. The one who'd cleaned out her series of funding and vanished to the Caymans 5 years ago. The one she still had pinned on her private Pinterest board under forever. Tori, you said you were done with him. She spun around, eyes blazing. He's taking over as CTO of Sterling Tech. Effective Monday. Are you serious? He scammed you. He's probably still wanted by the SEC. Don't you dare talk about him like that. She stepped closer, jabbing a manicured finger into my chest. Chase has connections on Wall Street. He knows how to scale a company. What do you have? A bachelor's in fine arts and a habit of burning toast? I have a job, I said quietly. 2, actually. 1 at the gallery. 1 consulting for her. Consulting? She let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Right, because consulting pays so well when your wife runs a billion-dollar tech firm. Face it, Liam, you're a project I never finished. A charity case with a wedding ring. I felt something snap inside me, but I swallowed it down. He's gonna screw you over again. Tori, I'm telling you. Slap. The sound cracked through the bedroom like a gunshot. My cheek burned. She'd never hit me before. Not like that. Get out, she said softly. I blinked. What? Get out. She turned back to the mirror, smoothing her hair like nothing happened. I'll have the lawyers draw up the papers. Don't worry, I'll be generous. Consider it a severance package for playing house the last 3 years. I stood there, frozen. You're kicking me out? Over Chase? She finally looked at me again, and her eyes were empty. Over you being useless. Chase is a man who builds empires. You're just decor. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that the useless husband she was tossing aside owned more shares in her company than she did, thanks to a trust fund from my grandfather that didn't kick in until I turned 30 next month. I wanted to tell her that the consulting job was for a private equity firm that had been quietly buying up her debt for 6 months. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded. Fine. I walked out, packed a bag. When I came back into the bedroom, she was already on a call, laughing that low, throaty laugh she used to save for me. Chase? Yeah. I cleared out the guest room. No, the other one, the one with the view. He won't be needing it anymore. I know. Finally, right? I stood in the doorway. She didn't even glance up. I left the penthouse without another word. The elevator ride down felt like falling when the doors opened the lobby. The doorman, Marcus, who'd nodded at me every morning for 3 years, looked right through me. Outside, the September rain hit like needles. I stood on the curb, bag at my feet, watching the Blacktown cars glide past. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Walker, the accounts are active. Welcome home. I stared at it. Then I deleted the message and blocked the number. Not yet. Another buzz. This time from Tori. Don't forget to forward the utilities. And burn those sweats. I laughed. It came out rough. Broken. I typed back. Tell Chase the Wi-Fi password is golddigger69. Sent. Then I powered down the phone and tossed it into a storm drain. A sleek Bentley pulled up to the curb, the rear window lowered. Arthur Vance, my grandfather's old fixer, sharp as a razor in a tailored suit, looked out at me. Get in. Mr. Walker, we have a company to restructure. I hesitated, just for a second. Then I grabbed my bag, slid into the leather seat, and watched the rain blur the skyline. She'll come crawling, I said quietly. Arthur handed me a tumbler of whiskey. Neat. No ice. They always do. Sir, the question is, will you let her? I took a sip. Let it burn. Not a chance. The car pulled away from the curb, leaving behind the life I'd played the fool for. Somewhere uptown, Victoria Sterling was celebrating her victory. Let her. By sunrise, she'd learned that the man she'd just fired wasn't a janitor. He was a landlord. The rest of the day moved like a chess game I'd already won. Arthur drove me to a private hangar outside the city. No paparazzi, no gossip blogs, just a Gulfstream waiting on the tarmac. We flew to Charleston, where my grandfather's estate sat untouched since his death 10 years ago. The lawyers were already there, 12 of them, hunched over contracts and NDAs. Sign here, Mr. Walker, one said, sliding a thick folder across the mahogany table. This transfers controlling interest in Vanguard Ventures to your personal holdings. They're Sterling Tech's primary backers. I signed. This one gives you voting rights on the Sterling Tech board. Signed. And this seizes all outstanding debts tied to Victoria Sterling's personal guarantees, including the penthouse, the company headquarters, and the fleet of Teslas she leases for senior staff. I paused, pen hovering. Leave the cars. I want her to look successful while she's drowning. Arthur smirked. Cold, sir. Motivated. By evening, I was back in New York. Different hotel, the Pierre, under le pseudonym. I ordered room service and turned on the TV. There she was, Victoria, standing at a podium, Chase grinning beside her like a golden retriever who'd found a steak, excited to announce Chase Montgomery as our new chief technology officer. She was saying, his vision will take Sterling Tech to unprecedented heights. A reporter shouted, Ms. Sterling, any comment on the rumors that your husband, Liam Walker, was seen leaving your residence with a suitcase this morning? Victoria's smile didn't falter. Liam and I are restructuring our personal arrangement. I wish him luck in his artistic pursuits. Though, frankly, I doubt the world is ready for his particular brand of finger painting. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Chase leaned into the mic. Hey, we all need a hobby. Maybe he can paint our new office mural. Something abstract, like his career prospects. I muted the TV, finished my steak. Then I picked up the burner phone Arthur had given me and dialed a number I hadn't used in years. Yeah, a gruff voice answered. Javier, it's Liam. I need a favor. Get me everything on Chase Montgomery's recent transactions, offshore accounts, crypto wallets, the works. And Javier? Yeah, boss? Make it ugly. I hung up, checked the time. 9:17 p.m. She'd be home by now, probably pouring a glass of that overpriced Pinot Noir. Thinking she'd won, my phone buzzed. A text from a number labeled legal. Injunction filed. Eviction notice served at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Media embargo lifted at 6:45. I smiled. Let her sleep easy tonight. Tomorrow, the floor would disappear. I didn't sleep, just sat by the window, watching the city lights blur in the rain. Around 2 a.m., my burner phone lit up. A known number. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. Liam? Her voice was slurred. Panicked. Why isn't the front door code working? And why is there a notice taped to the elevator? Liam, answer me. I stayed silent. Baby, I know you're there. Look, I overreacted this morning. Chase is just a business move. Okay, I still need you. I I miss you. I close my eyes. 3 years of mornings like this. Her waking up hungover, apologizing, promising it'd be different. Except tomorrow. The apologies wouldn't matter. Liam, say something. I hung up, blocked the number. Then I drafted a single email to the board of Sterling Tech. Short, brutal, effective. Subject: immediate board restructuring. Effective 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All operational control of Sterling Tech is suspended pending audit. All executive salaries frozen. Ms. Sterling is to vacate the premises immediately. Further instructions to follow. L.W. I hit send. Then I poured another drink and watched the rain until dawn. Somewhere in the city, a queen was about to wake up in a cardboard box. And I was just getting started. My phone rang at 5:47 a.m. Didn't need to check the ID. Only 2 people had this number. Arthur and whoever Arthur hired to watch Victoria. Mr. Walker, a clipped female voice said. Security at 1 Vanderbilt. Ms. Sterling just tried to enter the executive garage. Her key card's been deactivated. Deny access. I said, swinging my legs out of bed. Call the police if she causes a scene. But quietly. I don't want this on page 6 until I'm ready. Understood. Also, she's demanded to speak to Mr. Montgomery. He's currently in the building's gym. Let her wait. I ended the call. Padded over to the espresso machine. While it brewed, I scrolled through the overnight alerts. Chase had tried to transfer $2 million from Sterling's operating account to a shell company in Belize. Transaction rejected. Funds frozen. His personal Amex had been declined at a steakhouse in Midtown around midnight. Even better, his brokerage accounts were flagged for suspicious activity thanks to a tip I'd sent to FINRA at 3 a.m. The ghost was officially haunting the halls. At 6:15, Arthur texted, board briefing in 10. Elevator 3. I rode down alone. The conference room on the 42nd floor was already full. 12 men and women in charcoal suits. All standing when I entered. All except one. Victoria. She was sitting at the far end of the table. Hair messy. Wearing yesterday's blazer over a wrinkled silk camisole. No makeup. Eyes red. She looked small. Liam. She half stood. Then seemed to realize the room was staring. What is this? Why am I locked out of my own building? I didn't sit. Just loosened my cufflinks and looked at the board chair. Evelyn Reese. Status? Evelyn cleared her throat. Mr. Walker, per your email and the filings from Vanguard Ventures, you now hold 51% of Sterling Tech's voting shares. The board has voted unanimously to accept your interim leadership. Unanimously? Victoria's voice cracked. Evelyn, you can't. This is my company. I founded it. You borrowed against it. Victoria. Evelyn said coldly, repeatedly, and you brought in a convicted fraudster as CTO without due diligence. The board's patience expired at midnight. Victoria turned to me, desperation replacing outrage. Baby, please, this is a misunderstanding. Chase told me he fixed his record. He said the SEC thing was settled. I was trying to protect the company. Protect it? I finally spoke, voice flat, by installing a man who used company funds to pay off a $400 000 poker debt in Monaco last week. Silence. Then a junior board member, some hedge fund kid named Brandon, snorted. Chase Montgomery gambles? Shocker. Victoria Pal. That's not true. Liam, tell them you're making this up. I pulled out my phone, tapped the file, and tossed it onto the table. It skidded to a stop in front of her. Security footage from a Monte Carlo casino. Timestamp 4 days ago. Chase, drunk, signing a marker with a Sterling Tech corporate card. He's been draining you for months. I said, using your obsession with him to cover the withdrawals. You were so busy pretending I didn't exist that you didn't notice the ship was sinking. She stared at the photo, trembling. Why would you let this happen? I didn't let anything happen. I watched. There's a difference. I nodded to Arthur. Show them the rest. Arthur clicked a remote. The screen behind me lit up with a spreadsheet. Cash flow, debt ratios, burn rate, all in the red. Sterling Tech is insolvent, Arthur announced. As of 6 a.m., Vanguard Ventures has initiated foreclosure proceedings on all corporate assets, including this office. Chaos erupted. Voices overlapped. How could she? We're personally liable. My retirement portfolio. I raised a hand. Silence fell. There's a path forward. I said, Walker Capital will inject $50 million in bridge financing. In exchange, I take full operational control. All current executives, including Ms. Sterling and Mr. Montgomery, are terminated effective immediately. Victoria lunged across the table. You bastard. You planned this. You've been waiting to stab me in the back. I caught her wrist midair, held it, let her feel the strength she'd mistaken for weakness. No, Victoria, I waited for you to stab yourself. I just made sure I wasn't standing behind you when you did. I released her. She stumbled back, sobbing. Liam, please, I'll do anything. I'll step down. I'll apologize publicly. Just don't take the company. It's all I have. It's all you had. I corrected. Now it's mine. The door burst open. Chase, sweaty from the gym, still in basketball shorts. What the hell is going on? Vic, wide security say. He froze when he saw me, then noticed the board. Oh, this is rich. The little wife finally grew a pair. I didn't blink. Mr. Montgomery, you're trespassing. Security will escort you out. Like hell, he puffed out his chest. I'm the CTO. I've got a contract, which includes a morals clause. Evelyn interjected, and a requirement to disclose foreign debts, neither of which you satisfied. Chase's face twisted. He turned to Victoria. Fix this. Call your lawyers. Tell them I'm staying. She just shook her head, tears streaming. I can't. Liam, make him stop. Chase's expression shifted from confusion to fury. He grabbed Victoria's arm, yanking her toward the door. Useless bitch. Should have known you'd fold. I'm out of here. I stood. Mr. Montgomery. He paused, sneering. What? The SEC just froze your assets. The FBI is waiting downstairs. Seems you forgot to disclose that little wire fraud charge from 2019. I smiled thinly. Enjoy prison. The decor's even worse than your personality. 2 federal agents appeared in the doorway. Chase paled. Vic, baby, tell him it's not true. She didn't even look at him, just crumpled into her chair, whispering, get him away from me, as they dragged him out, screaming about his rights and connections. I turned back to the board. Meeting adjourned. Evelyn, stay. Everyone else, clear your desks by noon. HR will handle severance. They filed out, avoiding eye contact. Victoria didn't move, just sat there, staring at her hands. When the room emptied, I walked to the window. You have 5 minutes to get your things. Liam, her voice was a thread. I didn't know about the gambling, about the fraud. I swear, you didn't want to know. I turned. You wanted the fantasy. The powerful Lex who'd sweep in and validate your ego. Instead, you got a con man. And you threw away the one person who actually gave a damn. She crawled toward me, grabbing my pant leg. I love you. I've always loved you. Chase was just a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. I peeled her fingers off, one by one. Love doesn't fire someone for being dead weight. Love doesn't laugh when they're humiliated on live TV. Love doesn't replace them with a criminal. I'll change. I'll sign whatever you want. Prenup, postnup. I don't care. Just don't throw me out like trash. I crouched down, meeting her eyes. Too late. Victoria, you threw yourself out. I'm just closing the door behind you. I stood, straightened my jacket. Security will escort you to the lobby. Don't come back. As she was led away, sobbing, Evelyn approached. Mr. Walker, the press is gathering downstairs. Statement? I looked out at the Manhattan skyline. Somewhere, a story was breaking. Tech queen ousted by secret investor. Ex-husband seizes control. Keep it simple. I said, Sterling Tech is under new management, effective immediately. Victoria Sterling is no longer affiliated with the company. No comments on personal matters. And Mr. Montgomery let the feds handle the narrative, but leaked the gambling photos to TMZ. Quietly, Evelyn smirked. Cold, sir, necessary. I glanced at the empty chair where Victoria had sat. Make sure her name is stripped from the lobby by sunset. I want it gone, like she never existed. I walked out, ignoring the stares from the staff huddled by the elevators. In the garage, my driver held the Bentley door open. Home, sir? No. I slid into the leather seat. The plaza. I'm having breakfast. And Arthur? Sir? Send flowers to Victoria's mother. White lilies. For sympathy. The car pulled into traffic. I watched the city roll by, already planning the next move. Chase would sing to the feds. Trying to cut a deal. Victoria would crawl to every lawyer in New York, looking for a loophole. They'd find none, because I didn't build an empire by leaving exits unlocked. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Probably Victoria, using a burner. Please, just tell me you'll forgive me someday. I deleted it without replying. Forgiveness was a currency I no longer traded in. The rest of the morning was a blur of calls. Legal teams, PR firms, headhunters. By noon, Sterling Tech's website had a new logo, mine. By 2 p.m., the first batch of termination letters went out. By 4 p.m., Victoria's personal Instagram was flooded with supportive messages from friends who'd already unfollowed her. I spent the evening in my suite at the plaza, reviewing acquisition targets. Around 8 p.m., Arthur called. Ms. Sterling's at a homeless shelter in the Bronx. Claimed she had nowhere else to go. I sipped my scotch. Did she? Her mother refused her call. Her sister changed her number. Even her assistant blocked her. Good. I paused. Wait, did you say the Bronx? Yes. Sir, have a car follow her. Discreetly, if she tries to approach the old penthouse. Arrest her for trespassing. Already arranged. I hung up, stared at the city lights. Somewhere uptown, a woman who'd once owned the world was sleeping on a cot, wondering how it all fell apart. The answer was simple. She'd mistaken kindness for weakness. And now, she'd learned the difference. My phone lit up at 11:42 p.m. Arthur's name flashed on the burner screen. She's at the shelter entrance on Grand Concourse, he said, voice flat, crying, making a scene. Staff's asking her to leave. I swirled the ice in my glass. Let her stay an hour, then call the cops for loitering. Sir, she's claiming you abused her, telling anyone who'll listen that you stole the company and threw her out pregnant. I sat up. Pregnant? That's a new one. DNA tests would clear you in a day. But the press doesn't wait for facts. Leak the Monte Carlo footage. Now, and get me the shelter's director on the line. 2 minutes later, a nervous male voice answered. Mr. Walker? This is Pastor Mike. I didn't know she caused trouble. Pastor, I'm authorizing a $250, 000 donation to your women's shelter. Tonight, on one condition. Victoria Sterling is barred from the premises indefinitely. If she returns, the check bounces. Silence. Then, understood. Sir, she's being escorted out now. I ended the call, poured another drink. Outside, the city hummed. Somewhere, Victoria was learning that her lies had an expiration date. By sunrise, the narrative had shifted. Hashtag Sterling Scam trended on X. TMZ ran the casino footage. A former Sterling employee leaked emails proving Chase had been embezzling for months, with Victoria's implicit approval. The pregnancy claim vanished without a trace. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. Liam? Her voice was raw, stripped of its usual polish. Please, I'm on the street. It's freezing. I have nowhere. You have a dozen penthouses full of friends who use you for invites. Victoria. Try one of them. They won't answer. They're scared of you. Liam, I'm begging. Just let me come home. I'll sleep on the floor. I'll be your maid, your cook, anything. Anything? I repeated. Cold. You couldn't even be a wife. Why start now? She dissolved into sobs. I hate myself. I hate what I did to you. I thought, I thought if I was powerful enough, you'd respect me, but I just push you further away. Respect isn't something you buy with a corner office. Victoria. It's something you earn by not treating the person who loves you like garbage. I do love you. I always have. Chase was a mistake, a terrible, selfish mistake. But you're the only real thing I ever had. I closed my eyes. For a second, I remembered the woman who'd cried into my shoulder after her first failed pitch, the one who'd fallen asleep on my chest during thunderstorms. Then I remembered the slap, the laughter on TV, the eviction notice. Love doesn't humiliate. Victoria. It doesn't discard. And it sure as hell doesn't replace. I paused. But fine. You want a chance to prove you're not completely worthless? A sharp intake of breath. Yes. Anything. Report to the Walker Enterprises mailroom at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Address 450 Lexington. Ask for Frank. Tell him I sent you. You'll sort packages, run errands, clean bathrooms, whatever he says. No complaints. No attitude. And if you breathe a word of who you are to anyone, you're out. Permanently. The mailroom? Liam. I'm a CO. We're past tense. Now you're Victoria Sterling. Unemployed. Take it or freeze on the sidewalk. Silence. Then, barely audible, okay, I'll be there. I hung up, stared at the ceiling. Guilt gnawed at my gut, but I crushed it. She needed this. Hell, I needed this. To see her broken. To know she finally understood the weight of what she'd shattered. The next morning, I arrived at Walker Tower at 6:30. Frank, the mailroom supervisor, a grizzled ex-Marine with zero tolerance for bullshit, was waiting by the loading dock. She's here, he grunted, standing by the trash cans like she's afraid they'll bite her. I nodded. No special treatment. If she screws up, fire her. I'll back you. Frank smirked. With pleasure. Sir. I watched from the security feed as Victoria walked in, no makeup, hair in a messy bun, wearing a cheap thrift store blazer over jeans. She looked around like she'd landed on Mars. Frank thrust a clipboard at her. Name? Victoria. Sterling. Don't care. Sign here. You're on sorting duty. Break room's that way. Clean it. Then haul these boxes to the 12th floor. No elevator. Use the stairs. She stared at the mop bucket. I've never cleaned a break room. Then today's your first lesson. Princess. Frank shoved a rag into her hand. Move. I watched her scrub the floor on her knees, biting her lip to keep from crying. Watched her lug boxes twice her size up 12 flights of stairs. Watched her eat lunch alone in the supply closet, a bruised apple and a stale bagel. By Friday, the whisper started. Isn't that the Sterling lady? Thought she was rich? Guess not. Victoria kept her head down. Didn't correct them. Didn't complain. Just worked. On Sunday, I got a call from building security. Mr. Walker, Ms. Sterling still here. Been cleaning the lobby since 5 a.m. I hung up, drove to the office. Found her on her hands and knees, polishing the marble floors. Sweat streaked her face. Blisters covered her palms. She looked up, startled. Liam, Mr. Walker. I finished the mailroom. Frank said I could do extra credit. I crouched down. Why? Because maybe if I work hard enough, you'll see I'm sorry. That I've changed. Her voice broke. I know I don't deserve it, but I'll do anything. Anything to be near you again. He studied high. The pride was gone. The ice had melted. What was left was raw. Human. And damn it, real. Get up, I said quietly. She scrambled to her feet, wincing. You're not forgiven. I told her. Not even close. But you can keep the job. For now. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Thank you. Thank you. Liam. I turned to leave, then paused. Victoria? Yes? Stop calling me Liam. At work. It's Mr. Walker. And if you ever pull that CEO attitude again, even once, you're done. Understood? She nodded frantically. Understood. Mr. Walker. I walked away, my chest tight. She'd fallen further than I'd imagined. And yet, watching her pick herself up, piece by broken piece, something in me shifted. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but maybe, the beginning of understanding. My phone buzzed. Arthur. Chase pled guilty. 5 years. Victoria's name cleared legally. But socially, she's radioactive. I texted back. Good. Let her stay that way. Because redemption wasn't a gift. It was a grind. And Victoria Sterling had a long road ahead. The following weeks blurred into routine. Victoria arrived at 5 a.m., left at 9 p.m. She sorted mail, cleaned toilets, restocked break rooms. She ate lunch in the supply closet, avoided eye contact, and never, not once, complained. One Tuesday, I passed a mailroom and heard a junior analyst snickering. Hey, Sterling, heard you used to run a company. How's the career pivot treating you? I stopped. The analyst, Kyle, some Ivy League brat, smirked. Victoria kept her eyes on the floor, stacking envelopes. Answer him, I said. Victoria flinched. It's a learning experience. Sir, Kyle laughed. Sir? Damn, you really fell hard. Enough. I cut in. I turned to Kyle. You think this is funny? Kyle blinked. No, Mr. Walker, you're on probation for mishandling client data last month. One more slip, and you're out. Now apologize to Ms. Sterling. And mean it. Kyle paled. I'm sorry, Ms. Sterling. Victoria's head snapped up, shock flickering in her eyes. She looked at me, really looked at me. For the first time in weeks, I gave nothing away, just walked on. But I heard her whisper, thank you, so softly I almost missed it. That night, I found a note slipped under my office door. No signature, just 3 words. I see you. I burned it, but I kept the ashes. The subpoena arrived on a Tuesday. Federal Court, Southern District of New York, United States v. Chase Montgomery. Victoria stared at the envelope like it contained anthrax. I'm not testifying, she said, standing in my office doorway at 6 a.m. Same time she showed up every day. Different vibe. She hadn't slept. I didn't look up from the acquisition report. You're listed as a material witness. Victoria, you don't show. The U.S. Marshals will drag you out of the mailroom in cuffs. And Frank won't bail you out. He'll destroy me on the stand. He'll lie. Say I knew about the embezzlement, that I helped him launder money through Sterling's accounts. Her voice cracked. He'll make me look like the villain. I finally glanced up. You were the villain, remember? Until about 8 weeks ago, I tossed a subpoena back at her. But here's the thing. If you testify truthfully, the DA's willing to recommend leniency on any residual civil penalties. If you don't, you're looking at conspiracy charges. Minimum, 5 years. Maximum, 20. She went white. 5 years? Liam, I didn't know. I swear. I know. I leaned back. But the law doesn't care what you swear. It cares what you can prove. And right now, the only proof you didn't know is your word against the convicted felons. She sank into the chair, trembling. What I do, you tell the truth. Every embarrassing, humiliating detail. How he charmed you. How you ignored the red flags because you want to believe you weren't alone at the top. How you fired your husband to make room for a thief. I paused. And then you let the jury decide if you're a victim or a fool. Tears pooled in her eyes. You want me to humiliate myself publicly. Again, I want you to own your mistakes. There's a difference. I stood, walked a window. Testify, Victoria. Or spend the next decade explaining to cellmates why a former CEO can't sort mail without crying. She was quiet for a long time. Then, will you be there? I didn't turn around. Would it matter if I was? It would matter to me. I left that unanswered. Courtroom 12B was packed. Reporters crammed the back rows. Chase, in an orange jumpsuit, smirked when Victoria walked in. She wore a plain navy dress, no labels, no jewelry. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup. She looked like a ghost. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Daniels, led her through the basics. Founding Sterling Tech, the first round of funding. Then, Ms. Sterling, can you identify the defendant? Victoria pointed at Chase. Her hand didn't shake. Chase Montgomery, my ex-boyfriend and former CTO of Sterling Tech. Did Mr. Montgomery ever discuss transferring company funds to offshore accounts? Objection. Chase's lawyer barked. Calls for speculation. Overruled. The judge grunted. Victoria took a breath. He told me it was for strategic tax optimization. I didn't know it was illegal until my husband showed me the records. A murmur rippled through the room. Husband, she'd said it plainly. No hesitation. Chase leaned forward, hissing something to his lawyer. Victoria didn't flinch. And did you authorize these transfers? I signed off on them. Yes, but only after Mr. Montgomery assured me they were compliant. I relied on his expertise. She paused. I shouldn't have. I was blinded by loyalty to someone who didn't deserve it. The prosecutor pressed. And what about the $2? $4 million withdrawn from Sterling's operating account 4 days prior to Mr. Montgomery's arrest? Was that authorized? Victoria's voice dropped. No, I found out about that the morning Liam, Mr. Walker, showed me the surveillance footage from Monaco. That's when I realized I'd been used. Chase's lawyer stood for cross-examination. Ms. Sterling, isn't it true you were furious with your husband for interfering in your company? That you called him dead weight and useless in front of your staff? Victoria's chin lifted. Yes, and I regret those words every day. Regret doesn't pay back millions in fraud, does it? Isn't it possible you're testifying now simply to curry favor with your wealthy husband? To avoid criminal charges yourself? Victoria looked straight at the jury. I'm testifying because I owe the truth to the employees who lost their jobs when Sterling collapsed, to the investors who trusted me, and yes, to the man I wronged. Whether he forgives me or not isn't the point. The point is, I won't let Chase Montgomery lie about me anymore. Not when I've spent every day since he arrived cleaning toilets to atone for my stupidity. Silence. Even Chase's lawyer looked thrown. The judge adjourned for lunch. As Victoria stepped down, Chase called out, "Traitor." She stopped, turned, and for the first time in months, her voice rang clear. "No, Chase, survivor." She walked past me without a glance, but her shoulder brushed mine, deliberate, brief, electric. The verdict came 3 hours later. Guilty on all counts. Chase got 12 years. As the marshals led him out, he screamed, "You'll rot. Vic, you and that pathetic husband of yours." I caught Victoria's eye across the courtroom. She didn't cry, just squared her shoulders and walked out. I followed her to the courthouse steps. Reporters swarmed. "Ms. Sterling, any comment on the verdict? Will you reconcile with your husband? Is it true you're working in a mailroom?" She raised a hand. Silence fell. Today isn't about me. It's about justice for the people Chase Montgomery hurt. I made mistakes, monumental ones, but I'm owning them, one day at a time. She looked past the cameras, straight at me, and to the man who saw the truth when I couldn't. "Thank you for not giving up on me entirely." Then she turned and walked into the crowd. No bodyguards, no entourage, just a woman in a navy dress, fading into the New York afternoon. I should have let her go, should have gotten in my car and driven back to the tower. Instead, I followed, caught up to her 2 blocks away. Near a bodega, she was buying a bottle of water, hands shaking as she counted crumpled bills. "You dropped this," I said, holding out a 20. She froze. "Mr. Walker, I didn't expect. You did good in there." I kept my voice neutral, telling the truth, not making excuses. She stared at the bill. "It doesn't change anything, does it? Between us?" "No, but it changes how I see you." I paused. "Come to dinner. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., the private room at Carbone." Her eyes widened. "Dinner? Like a date, like a conversation. Where something that isn't from goodwill. I turned to leave, then added, and Victoria? No more, Mr. Walker. Not tomorrow. I walked away before she could reply, but I heard her whisper, Okay, Liam. It sounded like a beginning, or maybe just another ending. The next evening, I arrived at Carbone early, ordered the spicy rigatoni, her favorite. At 7:02, she walked in, black dress, simple but elegant, hair down, minimal makeup. She looked like the woman I'd married, minus the armor. The maitre d' led her to the table. She sat, hands folded. Thank you for inviting me. Eat, I said. You're too thin. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then she spoke. I meant what I said in court, about owing you the truth. I know. Do you think you could ever trust me again? I set down my fork. Trust isn't a light switch. Victoria, you don't flip it back on because someone testifies well. It's built, slowly, through 1,000 small choices. I met her gaze. You've made a few good ones lately, but we're talking months, not minutes. She nodded, swallowing hard. I understand. I want to earn it, however long it takes. Then start by answering one question honestly. I leaned forward. Why did you really bring Chase back? Not the company growth excuse. The real reason. She hesitated. Then because I was scared of failing, of being alone at the top. Chase! He made me feel invincible. Like I didn't need anyone. Especially not a husband who only painted and consulted. She laughed bitterly. Turns out, I needed you most when I pretended I didn't. And now I know I'm nothing without accountability. Without you. She reached across the table. Then pulled back. But I don't expect you to fix me. I just want a chance to fix myself. Beside you. Not because you owe me. Because I choose to. I studied her. The vulnerability was real. The remorse. Genuine. But the road ahead was long. And I wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. Finish your pasta. I said, we'll talk again next week. Same time. And Victoria? Yes? Wear the blue dress next time. The one with the buttons. I always liked that one. A tiny smile broke through. Okay, Liam. As we left, I paid the tab and walked her to the subway. She hesitated at the turnstile. I can get a car. I'll be fine, she said. The subway's honest. Like me now. I nodded. Good night, Victoria. Good night, Liam. She disappeared into the crowd. I stood there until the train rumbled away, feeling something I hadn't in months. Hope. Fragile, dangerous hope. But hope nonetheless. 6 months to the day after she started in the mailroom, Victoria Sterling walked into my office at 5:59 a.m. Same time, different energy. She carried a leather binder, not a mop. Morning, she said. No, Mr. Walker. Not anymore. Not since the third dinner at Carbone. I didn't look up from the Q3 earnings report. You're early. Frank gave me the day off. Said I've earned it. She set the binder on my desk. I finished the internal audit of Walker Sterling's supply chain. Found $4. $2 million in redundancies. Also, there's a leak in BizDev. Ryan Kovacs is shopping our proprietary algorithms to Meridian Global. I finally glanced up. Ryan was a recent hire. Ambitious. Dumb. You have proof? She flipped open the binder. Screenshots. Emails. A recorded call where Ryan bragged about selling the crown jewels. Enough to bury him. Also enough to negotiate a non-prosecution deal if he flips on Meridian. I leaned back. You did all this while sorting mail. I did it because it needed doing. And because I wanted to prove I'm not the same woman who needed a man to tell her when she was being scammed. She paused. Also, I might have stayed late a few nights. Frank gave me a key. I tapped the binder. Impressive. It's not about impressing you. Liam, it's about being worthy of sitting at the table. Not as your wife. As your partner. He stood it high. The cheap thrift store blazers were gone. She wore tailored pieces now. Still understated. But sharp. Her nails were clean. Not manicured. Her eyes held a quiet steel I recognized because it mirrored my own. Meridian CEO is Derek Holt. I said, he's the one who leaked the story about you cracking under pressure last month, trying to poach our engineers. Victoria's jaw tightened. I know. I have a counteroffer ready. We buy Meridian's AI division for pennies on the dollar, using the evidence of their corporate espionage. Then we fire Holt and make an example of him. I smirked. Cold. You taught me that mercy is a luxury, not a strategy. She softened, but I also know when to show it. I've been mentoring 2 junior analysts in the mailroom. They remind me of us. Hungry, overlooked. I want to start a scholarship fund for kids from the Bronx. Use the money from the Meridian acquisition. I stood, rounded the desk. You've changed. I've grown. There's a difference. She met my gaze. Do you think I'm ready? For what? To come home. To be your wife again. Not the CEO. Not the mailroom clerk. Just yours. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I walked to the window. Below, the city churned. You know the terms. The prenup's ironclad. One more betrayal. One, and you walk away with nothing. No alimony. No severance. I'd sign it again today. She stepped closer. But Liam, I don't want a prenup. I want a vow that if I ever make you feel small again, you'll leave. Because I finally understand losing you wasn't losing a title. It was losing my soul. I turned, pulled a small velvet box from my pocket, opened it. Inside wasn't the original ring, the one she'd thrown at me during the divorce. This was new, platinum, a single emerald-cut diamond, flanked by sapphires. Her birthstone, and mine, Victoria Sterling. I said quietly, you were a disaster. You were my greatest mistake, and my most profound lesson. I don't want to erase the last year. I want to build on it. The humiliation, the humility, the slow climb back. So, will you marry me? Again, properly this time. No games, no power plays, just us. She didn't cry, didn't gasp, just took the ring, slid it onto her finger, and said, yes, but on one condition. Name it. We get married in the Bronx, at the shelter where I slept that first night, and we donate the cost of a fancy wedding to their expansion fund. I laughed, actually laughed. Deal. The wedding was small, 30 people. Pastor Mike officiated. Frank was best man. The 2 mailroom analysts Victoria mentored were bridesmaids. Derek Holt wasn't invited, but he sent a cease and desist letter anyway. My lawyers framed it. Victoria wore a simple ivory dress. No veil. Her hair was down, just like the first time I saw her in that Brooklyn bar. I wore a navy suit. No tie. We wrote our own vows. She went first. Liam, I spent 3 years trying to outrun the girl who needed saving. I fired you to prove I didn't need anyone. But today, I'm marrying you because I do need you. Not to save me, but to stand beside me while I save myself. I promise to never confuse ambition with cruelty, to never laugh at your dreams, and to always check the offshore accounts. Laughter rippled through the room. I squeezed her hand. Victoria, I said, I spent a year watching you rebuild yourself from ash. I saw you scrub floors, haul boxes, and stare down a federal prosecutor without blinking. I saw you become the woman I always knew you could be. If you just get out of your own way, I promise to never let you forget where you came from, to challenge you when you're wrong, to celebrate you when you're right, and to never, ever let you fire me again. More laughter. Pastor Mike pronounced us husband and wife. Our kiss was brief, but it tasted like redemption. The reception was held in the shelter's newly renovated community center, funded by our wedding gift of $5 million. Derek Holt crashed the party around 8 p.m., flanked by 2 lawyers and a PR intern. This is a private event, he sneered, and you're both in breach of at least 3 NDAs. Victoria stepped forward, smiling coolly. Derek, so glad you could join us. Though I'm confused, didn't the SEC freeze your assets this morning? I heard Meridian stock drop 40% on news of the espionage lawsuit. Holt's face purpled. You little... Aha! I cut in, pulling out my phone. Record buttons on. Careful, Derek. Defamation's a felony, and we've got enough of those in the family. I nodded at the far corner, where a prison transport van was idling, courtesy of a U.S. Marshals, who'd been tipped off about Holt's attempt to flee the country. Holt sputtered, then turned and stomped out, his lawyers scrambling behind him. Victoria watched him go, then turned to me. Was that necessary? He tried to poach our engineers and crash our wedding. Yes, it was necessary. I pulled her close, but mostly, it was fun. She rested her head on my shoulder. I love you, Liam Walker. I love you too, Victoria Sterling Walker. 3 months later, we stood on the balcony of our rebuilt penthouse, the one Victoria had once thrown me out of. Below, the city glowed. Chase wrote me from prison, she said quietly. Said he hopes I rot. What did you write back? Nothing. I forwarded him the wedding photos and a copy of the Meridian acquisition papers with a note, enjoy the solitude. We're enjoying the empire. I chuckled, cold, motivated. She leaned into me. Thank you for not giving up on me. I didn't give up. I just waited for you to catch up. I kissed the top of her head. Besides, someone needs to keep an eye on the mailroom. She laughed. It's your turn next week. Mr. C.O., Frank's been complaining about the sorting backlog. I'll be there. 5 a.m. Sweatpants and all. We stood in silence for a while. Then she whispered, Best decision I ever made was marrying you. Twice. Best decision I ever made was buying that investment firm the morning after you fired me. I paused, though renewing the vows comes close. She tilted her face up, eyes shining. Round 3? Let's survive round 2 first. I kissed her, slow and deep, when we broke apart. She was smiling. Deal, she said. And outside, the city kept humming. But inside, the ice had finally melted. Epilogue, 1 year later. The headline in the New York Times, Walker Sterling Innovations post-record profits. CEO couple credits humility and hard work. Inside, a photo of Victoria and me cutting a ribbon at a new STEM academy in the Bronx. She's wearing the blue dress with the buttons. I'm holding a pair of scissors. Grinning like a fool. Frank retired last month. We threw him a party in the mailroom. Victoria gave a speech about the man who taught me that greatness isn't about titles. It's about showing up. I gave him a gold watch engraved with thanks for keeping my wife humble. Chase applied for parole. Denied. Victoria didn't even blink. And last night, I woke up to find Victoria staring at me in the dark. What? I mumbled, just thinking. She whispered about the night you left and how different it feels to be the one who gets to wake up next to you. I pulled her close. Different good, different perfect. We fell back asleep, tangled together. The city outside was loud, chaotic, relentless. But in our bed, it was quiet. Finally,